What's good, guys? Sorry I'm late. I just had to go to a party today. But guess what? This is the newly updated full card predictions for UFC 308. Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. But before we get into that, we're going to be talking about what happened last week. My lock of the week, Charles Johnson, almost lost. Motherfucker, Charles Johnson, you getting me scared, bro. Can I pick you? Can I pick you to win? You almost lost that fight. But in all honesty, he almost got the KO as well. So Charles Johnson by plus 800 almost hit. One thing was for sure, Charles Johnson by decision was a great play. We have to mention Anthony Hernandez, the money maker. Let's go. Fraud check Ferreira. Ferreira quit after 3 minutes into the first round. Sucks. Bad. Terrible, man. Terrible. Michel Pereira sucks. Phillips is another guy who sucks. Kyler Phillips is not as good as we all thought he was. He gassed against Rob Font and got whooped. So, goodbye, Kyler Phillips. Now, Hadley, minus 650. Terrible, terrible, terrible pick. I put him in my 6 most confident picks. Terrible. That was terrible. Him and Kyler Phillips were both in my 6 most confident picks, and I only hit 4 out of my 6 most confident picks because of those two guys. Jake Hadley, I should not have had him in there. Robelis de Spain got wrestled by Austin Lane. That's fine. It happens. And he got fraud checked. He was never good anyway. Taekwondo guy with a lot of hype. And Ardeline was a bad underdog. Melissa Martinez whooped their ass. So we're going to be talking about UFC 308. And the lock of the week streak continues. One thing we have to mention, though, was the 6 best bets, the bonus. Under 2.5 didn't hit, but I hit the over 2.5. Over 2.5 saved me. And Anthony Hernandez for the win saved me. So one thing I have to hit is my overs. I got to get better at hitting the bonuses. We hit the lock of the week. We're on a 4-fight lock of the week streak. But I got to get better at hitting these bonuses, baby. So let's get it. We got a 14-fight card ahead of us. I went how many fights is this? 9? So what? 8, 9, 10, 11, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I went 7-4 out of an 11-fight card. So we are going to do better for UFC Abu Dhabi, which takes place, UFC 308, which takes place in Abu Dhabi, which is a stacked card ahead of us. So let's get into it. I got my cupcakes in the background because Halloween already. You know I'm a guy who loves treats, bro. If you know me, bro, and you want to pause. But if you're a girl and you know me and you want to get into my heart, you want to find the key to my heart, just give me a bunch of treats, a bunch of sweet treats. I'll take candy, I'll take cupcakes, and I'll take cookies. All right, let's get into it. Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. Very good card. Khamzat Chimaev versus Whittaker. And this is going to be the more professional breakdown. Last time you guys saw me break down UFC 308 was almost a week ago. So, newly updated full card predictions. Without further ado, let's get into it. Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov is no longer on this card. We know that Rinat versus Nzechukwu versus Ruziboev was canceled, but we got a new opponent for Rinat, Fakhretdinov, Carlos Leal. So, let's get into it. Without further ado, let me show you guys what I wrote and all of my predictions. The card has changed up a little bit, so bear with me. The card has changed up a little bit. Bruno Silva versus Ismail Naurdiev. This is what I wrote. Minus 102 for Bruno Silva, slight underdog, versus Ismail Naurdiev. Ismail Naurdiev is pretty good. He's a minus 125. Bruno Silva has been going through it heavy. He's been going through it, to be honest. If we're going to go and look at his record just from a mile away, we zoom out and we look at where he's been. He's been in a rough skid. We have to mention Bruno Silva has been going through it very, very much. Heavy hands, great BJJ. He can KO you at any moment, but he's very hittable. Has a negative striking differential. He's sort of hot and cold. He went toe-to-toe with Alex Pereira. He KO'd Brad Tavares when he had a chin. Now he's getting eye-poked 19 times by Chris Weidman, struggling against Shara Bullet as well. And he's taking on a UFC newcomer who has fought in the UFC before and went 2-2. Now he's 4-3 in the regional scene. So since then, he got re-signed with the UFC. His original run in the UFC was pretty good, although it went 2-2. He re-signed. This guy, he bounces between welterweight and he bounces in between weight classes. He seems to do better at higher weight classes like middleweight. He's a kickboxer and a wrestler. He's a kickboxer and a wrestler. He's very good by themselves at striking. He's very good at wrestling, but he's terrible at mixing it up. Ismail Naurdiev is terrible at mixing up his wrestling and his striking together. He has very good wrestling, very good striking, but he's terrible at mixing it up. Very telegraphed takedowns, and he's all right as a kickboxer. Bruno is a shell of his former self. Ismail isn't reliable at all, but I think he can get this done, and I'm not confident at all. We have to mention Bruno Silva's coming off of 3 losses. Those 3 losses, Brendan Allen, Magomedov, and Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman poked him 19 times in the eye. That's fine. It happens. Majority Tapology is going to go Bruno Silva. If you want to play one of them, play one of them. Choose one of these guys and just take money line. That's what I'm going to say. Money line is the best place to be when you're in a place like this. 185 for Bruno Silva. We know Ismail goes up and down in weight. He does perform better in higher weight classes, but we'll see how he performs here. One thing about Ismail is he's getting re-signed. So he's making his second UFC debut. We're going to see how he does in Abu Dhabi. The crowd's going to be on his side, and I think he can get this done, but only because Bruno Silva's a shell of his former self. I think Bruno Silva needs to come back with a new regimen. If he wants to come back and win this fight, remember, I'm breaking down the card today, and then Friday is going to be the last-minute predictions. So these are my almost most confident picks of all time until Friday. Friday are my last-minute predictions. So if I make any pick flip, which there might be one here, then you guys can tune in for Friday. But for right now, I'm going to go Ismail Naurdiev to win this fight. And I think he should be able to mix it up. He's terrible at mixing up the striking. He's terrible at mixing up the wrestling. But he needs to keep this fight in a place where he can be comfortable in. He needs to keep this fight in good striking range distance. And he needs to keep this fight on the feet, in my opinion. If he wants to wrestle, he can. But you don't want to gas yourself out. We know a guy like Ismail has lost before by submission armbar, and he's lost by KO as well. Bruno Silva has that power, but I just think Bruno Silva's a shell of his former self. So I'm going to go Ismail Naurdiev. Not so confident at all, but give me Ismail Naurdiev to win this fight. This is a 1-800 gambler type of fight, but if you want to take money line, take money line. Bruno Silva's a great dog, though. Aslan versus Raffael Cerqueira. One thing we have to mention with this fight is Aslan is a -122. Raffael Cerqueira is a -104. Jake Hadley, -650. Kyle Phillips, the guy who gassed hard against Font, -430. You can't look at odds and make your decision. These odds say Ibo is the favorite, so a guy who's randomly looking and trying to make picks, he's going to go with Ibo Arslan. We have to mention that odds don't mean anything. Ibo Arslan, however you want to call it, is all power. Has good short hooks, a bit sloppy, plenty of power from the feet as well. Not looking to wrestle, but he will sneak in a body lock or a trip here and there occasionally. And he does have cardio issues. He lost to Anton Turkos, and then he avenged his loss, but he still had cardio issues. He's taking on UFC newcomer Raffael. Patient guy, fights loose, fights fluid, not in a hurry, doesn't throw with intent. He's creative, athletic. He's good enough on the ground to hang in there. He's pretty big at 6'4". Keeps you on the back foot. He's 11-0 with 10 stoppages, but if you tape study his 10 stoppages, you'll be surprised. He doesn't fight like he's going to rip off your head. Ibo Arslan has shit cardio, doesn't like forward pressure, moves fast. If Raffael is relaxed, he can get caught early. We know Raffael has very low output and seems to not have that urgency to try to finish you and take your head off. Raffael is relaxed most of the time he fights. We don't know how he's going to react when he gets cracked, if he gets cracked. And this guy is not aggressive at all. We don't have enough real tape study to know how he does if he gets cracked, if he gets pressured hard. Ibo is the pick. He's stronger, faster, more athletic, more dangerous, but a low confidence pick. Raffael has 10 finishes out of his 11 wins. If you look at his 10 finishes, if you watch the fights, it's almost as if the fight is going to go to decision because it's so much slower, so much low output, no urgency to rip off this guy's head, very low output. And I think that that's going to be a big problem facing a guy like Ibo Arslan. Ibo Arslan's a slight favorite, and we know why. He's sloppy. When he gets striking, when he gets brawled, when he gets pressured, he doesn't like it. But a guy who's sloppy, has forward pressure, can win, can fight for 15 minutes, has something that Raffael doesn't have, which is urgency and the urgency to rip your head off. That's why I'm going to go Ibo Arslan to win this fight. Majority Tapology thinks that this fight's going to end inside the distance. This guy has 10 finishes out of his 11 wins. This guy has a lot of KOs on his side too. If you're going to take one guy, take him by KO. I don't see a submission happening anywhere here. And I think if I'm going to take some guy, remember this guy's going to look huge. Michel Pereira looks huge against Fluffy Hernandez. Fluffy Hernandez looked like he looked like Kelvin Gastelum versus Israel Adesanya. I was like, damn, bro, Michel Pereira looks huge. But for what? For 3 minutes of cardio. All jokes aside, Raffael is going to be the bigger fighter. He's going to look way bigger. We're going to see how cut they look on Friday, last-minute predictions. But for right now, I'm going to go Ibo Uselyis to win this fight by KO round 2. Going to be a good fight. But remember, Ibo and Uselyis is very sloppy. So if you want to go to 1-800-GAMBLER, you should bet on that fight. Rinat Fakhretdinov versus Carlos Leal. This is a new matchup. We have to mention that this matchup is very new. Short notice for Carlos Leal and short notice for Rinat. Rinat was training, but did he expect to get a different opponent? I don't think so. Let me look for this. Let me look for my notes, sorry. Rinat Fakhretdinov versus Carlos Leal. Carlos Leal is a plus 280. Renat's a minus 390. You know this guy's going to be a minus 600 by the time they fight. So take him right now. Rinat Fakhretdinov, the Gladiator versus the Lion. One draw on his record against Alessio Zaleski. And that was a bad look. That was a really bad look for Rinat because he gassed hard. But let's look at my notes. All right, so Rinat Fakhretdinov is an all full, well-rounded striker. Likes to wrestle a lot. He had a very controversial fight against Nicholas Dalby, which was split decision. A lot of people gave it to Nicholas Dalby. In my opinion, I thought Rinat won that. It was close, but I thought he won that. Carlos Leal is a guy who's going to do anything in his power to try to get the power moving, trying to get his forward pressure moving, and he has some knockouts on his record. When we look at his entire record, he's making his UFC debut at UFC 308, but we see that this guy tends to either finish you in the first round or he's going to go to decision. Punches round 1, 4 minutes. Punches round 1, 3 minutes. Punches round 2, 1 minute. Punches round 1. We know that this guy has a little bit of a questionable record. We see that he's lost by decision and he's lost by split decision as well in PFL. Comes from LFA as well. And we're going to see how successful his UFC debut is. I think if you're going to make a UFC debut, I did not know they were going to feed this guy to the Wolves. They fed this guy straight to the Lion. First fight. 33 years old, 170, welterweight division, 6'0", 5'11", 74 inch reach to 72. I'm going to go Rinat Fakhretdinov, and the reason why I'm going Rinat is because this guy's a prospect. In my opinion, I think this guy's a future title contender. I know that sometimes he has cardio issues. Sometimes he tends to try to go for submission over position. And sometimes when he's trying to chase the submission, he tends up losing the control time that he has on his opponent. One thing for sure is that this guy might not have the best control on top. He's very good when he controls you, when he wrestles you, when he gets you down, when he gets you tired. But if you have that good get-up game, if you can get right back up like a guy like Nicholas Dalby, or if you have good takedown defense like Eliseo Zaleski, you can make this fight a little bit more harder and make him face adversity. Rinat Fakhretdinov doesn't do that well with facing adversity sometimes. Sometimes when he can't get the takedown, he tends to look a little bit out of place, and then he tends to shoot more telegraph takedowns. One thing I have to say is Rinat is going to win this fight, but we have to mention how is he going to win this fight. Is he going to be able to finish a guy like Carlos Leal? Is he going to be able to submit a guy like Carlos Leal? Is he going to be able to KO a guy like Carlos Leal? We know Carlos Leal has lost before, but he tends to lose decisions. What I'm going to say is I think Rinat Fakhretdinov can win this fight by submission or decision, but we have to mention that KO is a possibility as well, considering this guy's making his UFC debut. He's going to start off, we don't know, he might start off a little cold, he might not be as hot on his feet, and he might get finished in the first round. We know a guy like Rinat is not that type of guy to win inside the first round, but he's been facing the toughest competition. He's beaten Kevin Lee by submission guillotine choke, and he's finished a guy like that, who we know Kevin Lee's no longer in the UFC. But when he faces the top echelon of the division, he goes to decision. Brian Battle controlled him for 15 minutes. Nicholas Dalby won by split decision. In my opinion, one of the best props is to sprinkle Rinat by unanimous decision and to sprinkle Rinat inside the distance. In my opinion, I think Rinat can win this fight inside the distance, and I think the 8% that are picking Leal are just going for a Hail Mary. I don't think Rinat loses this fight at all, and I think this is probably one of my most confident picks of the entire card. So give me Rinat Fakhretdinov to win this fight and kill this guy. I'm going to go preferably by unanimous decision, but I'm going to go double chance as well. So give me Rinat to win by submission or decision. If it's decision, 29-28 after losing the first round. We know a guy undefeated is going to come with everything. He's going to come with, like, if he has nothing to lose. Next fight, Basharat versus Victor Hugo. This is what I wrote in my notes. Here it is, here it is, here it is. Let's just look at the odds first. Okay, Basharat is the better Basharat brother of the two. Way better. He's way better than Javid. One thing we have to mention is Victor Hugo is very good as well. Let me just get the odds for you guys right now. I believe Farid Basharat is a big favorite. That's why I want to look at it. We have to look at the odds. But I think he's the way better brother of the two. And he hasn't got fraud checked. He hasn't lost. And he has very good grappling. Where is it? Where is it? Farid Basharat is a minus 615. Victor Hugo is a plus 365. Everybody's on this. Everybody's on this guy. You're not going to see one MMA full card prediction video with one guy picking Victor Hugo. If you see one guy pick Victor Hugo, send me his YouTube channel right now. I'm not saying it's a bad pick. I'm not saying it's a bad pick. I'm just saying everybody's going to be on Farid Basharat when we know that these guys have very low output and these guys have been pushed and faced adversity before. We know his brother Javid just recently lost. And why did he lose? Because he wasn't urgency to finish his opponent. Farid Basharat versus Victor Hugo. Basharat, well-rounded, good wrestler, solid striking, loose stance, bounces on his toes, throws a ton of kicks. He has that Taekwondo background. He's a beast wrestler, perfect timing. Took Lopoulos down 5 times. He was supposed to fight earlier at UFC Saudi Arabia, but that fight fell through. Victor Hugo has fought from bantamweight all the way up to welterweight. Wild striker, bombs away, insane power. He positions a lot. So he loses position a lot. Farid Basharat loses position a lot because he chases too hard. He's coming off of a UFC debut win. I mean, oh my God, I lost myself. He's coming off of a UFC debut win where he was patient, calm, but he did spend a lot of time against the cage. Victor Hugo is coming off of his UFC debut where he spent a lot of time on the cage, but he was able to win that fight successfully. We have to mention that this guy has fought in all weight classes, Victor Hugo. He has insane power. He loses positions a lot because he chases hard. He's coming off of a UFC debut win where he was patient, calm, but he did spend a lot of time against the cage. Farid Basharat is the better brother than Javid Basharat. Javid lost to Ayman Zahabi. You can easily write them both off and say both of these brothers are both trash because they're point fighters and they don't go for a finish. But Farid is more reliable because of his wrestling. If Victor comes crazy, boom, Farid takes him down. Only one takedown per round because they can't get back up. Victor is dangerous, but the over 2.5 is safe. Victor spent a lot of time in his UFC debut against the cage. He was able to win that fight by unanimous decision. But we know a guy like Farid Basharat is going to capitalize off of you. If you're trying to throw crazy, if you're trying to start off too fast, if you're trying to start off with exchanges off the feet like crazy, right off the rip, Farid Basharat's going to go right into a takedown. He's going to take you down. All he needs is one takedown. He's going to control you for the entire 5 minutes. We're going to the next round starts on the feet. But we know a guy like Farid Basharat is likely going to be able to do this for all 15 minutes. Not only is he going to be able to do this for all 15 minutes, but he should be able to win this fight comfortably. This is one of my most confident picks of the week. We know this guy's a minus 500, minus 615. Victor Hugo is one of the biggest underdogs on the entire card. They're almost identical in height and reach. And this is a barn burner. This is going to be a good fight. One thing, though, I think the over 2.5 is perfect for this fight, and I think it's one of the most likely outcomes. I think if we're going to play a prop, we should go Farid Basharat by unanimous decision. And in my opinion, I think he should be able to win this fight comfortably, 29-28 on all judges' scorecards after probably losing the first round. We know a guy like Victor Hugo is a good fighter. But can he go and beat a guy like Farid Basharat? I don't think it's likely. Majority Topology has Basharat to win this fight, so it's not a surprise that I'm picking him. But I think he should be able to finish this fight. If he really wants to, he can. But we know a guy like Farid Basharat is more comfortable winning a decision and grinding it out for 15 minutes. So Farid by decision is the safest pick. Over 2.5 is the play. Let's go. Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Chris Barnett. This is crazy, bro. This is crazy, bro. Look at the odds for this. Let's look at the odds for this. Kennedy Nzechukwu is a minus 700, bro. Kennedy Nzechukwu minus 550. Chris Barnett's a plus 400. We know Kennedy opened up at a minus 700. Excuse me. Heavyweight is going to be where this fight takes place. Kennedy is a light heavyweight. He seems not worried about Chris Barnett. He was supposed to fight Justin Tafa. This is his third opponent on this card. So we have 3 different rescheduled bouts for Kennedy and Nzechukwu. Kennedy is a long, powerful guy, solid takedown defense, never out of a fight, but can he be gun-shy? Low volume. When he throws, it's powerful, typically a durable guy. But he did just get finished by Dustin Jacoby and dropped by OSP, which is a bad look. Bro, that is a terrible, terrible look. Where he was a big favorite. He's fighting Huggy Bear Chris Barnett. He doesn't look like it, but Chris is athletic, and although he's super short and took off a couple of years off, he is a very good striker when focused and very coordinated. He was supposed to fight 2 weeks ago, but Hurricane Milton ruined it. He got an upgrade, flies over to Abu Dhabi, and has a first-class fight to Abu Dhabi. Who wouldn't take that? Kennedy is a big favorite, even though Chris hasn't fought in 2 years and he's built weird. He's dynamic and fluid. Kennedy sucks. I would be careful for this fight and stay away. I'm going to pick Kennedy and Nzechukwu. He should win, but this is another 1-800-gambler fight. Look what Robelis de Spain just did yesterday against Lane. Robelis de Spain was a big favorite. Massive favorite. What happened yesterday? He got taken down and looked terrible. Terrible. How are you in the UFC? Dude, how are you in the UFC if Austin Lane is able to take you down? You should never be able to compete in the UFC again. We know a guy like Kennedy Nzechukwu is coming off of 2 losses, those being to Dustin Jacoby by KO and Ovince Peru. Considering he got dropped by OSP, we know that Chris Barnett definitely has a chance. I chose Chris Barnett in my early card predictions. I think this fight's going to end inside the distance. Under 2.5 is very good. In my opinion, this is a 1-800-gambler fight. I'm going to be skipping this fight, but if I have to pick one, I'm making an official pick flip, and I'm going Kennedy and Nzechukwu. I'm picking Kennedy and Nzechukwu to win this fight, but this is a 1-800-gambler type of fight, and I don't like to look at fights like this because fights like this are why some people are broke, and I'm not even joking, bro. Kennedy and Nzechukwu is a guy who should be cut from the UFC, and a guy like Chris Barnett, the fact that he steps up for this fight, he's a demon, and I would love to see Chris Barnett do a front flip and win. I'm going to be picking Kennedy and Nzechukwu. Not confident. He's very bad, very low output, gun-shy, but he should be able to win this fight and maybe even finish a guy like Chris Barnett. Low confidence pick, but I'm going Kennedy and Nzechukwu to win this fight by KO round 2. Crazy fight, man. Crazy fight. Just skip that fight, bro. Just skip that fight. Here we go. Abus Magomedov versus Bruno Ferreira. Bruno Ferreira is a plus 120. Some people have gotten him as a plus 170. Congrats on you, bro. You hit big if you got that. Abus Magomedov is a minus 154. Bruno Ferreira is a plus 120. Abus is 26-6 record. He's a busted prospect. Versatile striker. Has wrestling as a backup plan. Sneaky power. Doesn't look like he hits hard, but we've seen him put people down. Long striker. Good jab. Using length to counter. Throws everything from tight hooks to head kicks. He's hittable, but if he gets hit, he shoots a takedown. He's coming off of a bounce-back win over Warley Alves. He's taking on Bruno Ferreira. Very powerful, light on the feet, bounces on his toes fast, powerful striker with all finishes. Not really reckless. He sometimes has low volume, starts slow because he's waiting for an opportunity, waiting for openings. He can grapple too, strong takedown defense. Bruno Ferreira has good BJJ. Only uses it if he's in trouble or if his opponent initiates it. He's coming off of a KO win over Dustin Stolfitz. How bad is Abus Magomedov is my question. He had one win against a bum. Then these guys give him a main event. They throw him inside a main event against Strickland. He gets finished. Fights Kyle Borrallo. He gets dropped by Kyle Borrallo. Then smoked on the ground. Abus doesn't really have a good chin, but does he suck? Kyle is good. Strickland is good. But the way he loses is bad. He goes out like a bitch. He's a quitter. Will be sketchy if Bruno doesn't get the finish. And these new gloves, we got less KOs. So that's what I wrote. So, are we going to get a finish with these new gloves? Maybe. Bruno Ferreira is a heavy striker. Finishes almost all of his opponents. And we know a guy like Abus Magomedov is a guy who quits when it gets tough. When it gets dirty, when it gets ugly. A guy like Abus Magomedov is a guy that taps strikes. Bruno Ferreira is a great powerhouse. The only thing is if he's not able to get a finish and he's not able to finish a guy like Magomedov, he's going to get picked apart. Magomedov is going to set him up with that high kick. He's going to set him up with the teep kick to the body. He's going to set him up with a bunch of leg kicks. Magomedov can also wrestle. You have to think about it like this. What if Magomedov wrestles right off the jump? What if he just wrestles and shoots a takedown right off the jump? Bruno Ferreira has good get-up game, but we know there's a possibility where Magomedov can control him for 15 minutes. Magomedov can also pick him apart for 15 minutes if Bruno Ferreira doesn't find the KO. We know that Bruno Ferreira had a very, very good win over Gregory Rodriguez. And we know that win over Gregory Rodriguez was pretty crazy because he was getting hit with the jab, getting hit with the jab, getting hit with the jab. And then Bruno Ferreira goes like this, opens, and then hits him with a beautiful, beautiful counter left shot to knock out Gregory Rodriguez and put him out. We know that that fight was pretty competitive up until that KO. This fight is going to be another fight like that. It's going to be very competitive up until somebody gets hit hard. And I know it sounds easier said than done. I think Bruno Ferreira can get this job done. I picked him earlier in the week. We know Magomedov is a slight favorite. If you want the best prop for this fight doesn't go the distance in my opinion. I think somebody's going to get finished this fight. And if Bruno Ferreira doesn't find the finish, he might lose a unanimous decision. It's a possibility. He loses a unanimous decision to Magomedov. But in my opinion, I think a guy like Bruno Ferreira is very good on his toes. And he can look a little sloppy because of his striking. But it's very calculated and it's very orientated and it's very diverse in my opinion. I don't think his striking is like a lot of people on this card. I think if anybody's going to find a finish in this fight, it's going to be a guy like Bruno Ferreira to win this fight by KO. I think he can definitely finish a guy like Magomedov. It's just that Magomedov, if he comes in with a good game plan, comes in with those teep kicks to the body, keeps the distance, keeps the range, keeps the speed and momentum on his side, he can definitely win this fight. I'm going to go Bruno Ferreira to win this fight by unanimous, not by unanimous decision, by KO inside the second round in my opinion. But we know that Bruno Ferreira can also KO you in the first round. He can KO you in the first round, second round, third round. It's just a matter of when. I'm going to go Bruno Ferreira. Be careful with this dog pick because we know a guy like Magomedov can completely dismantle a guy like Bruno Ferreira by picking him apart on the outside. I think Bruno Ferreira is very good at closing in distance, and he should be able to find that chin and put him out. Let's go Bruno Ferreira by second round KO. That's actually going to be an amazing fight. Now, here we go. Said Nurmagomedov versus Daniel Santos. This is a good fight. This is a really good fight. Said isn't your typical Nurmagomedov. He doesn't always wrestle. Flashy striker. Range is very effective. Head kicks. Amazing takedown defense. Okay at 66%. And he's coming off of his third guillotine win in the UFC. This time under 2 minutes against Gaffarov. He has a good guillotine and he doesn't just use it just to defend takedowns. He's trying to actually finish the fight. He's taking on shoot the box guy. Daniel Santos plus forward. Right guard. He has a tight guard. When he hits in the pocket, he will explode. Excuse me. He will explode with power hooks. Looks like Oliveira gets hit, dropped, and recovery is solid. Leg kicks, good BJJ, but he gets taken down easy. Old school BJJ, he plays on his back too much. Jiu-jitsu game, a little too long on his back. He's coming off of a win over Johnny Munoz Jr., where his striking looked good and his cardio looked good. Santos needs to create chaos. I think Said can win this comfortably if Daniel Santos doesn't create chaos. Daniel is the chinier fighter of the two. I'm going to go Said Nurmagomedov. Specifically, I'm going to go Said Nurmagomedov by unanimous decision. But we know a guy like Daniel Santos, if anybody's going to get finished, is Daniel Santos in this fight. Majority Tapology has this fight to go the distance. And if there's going to be a finish, it's Said by submission. In my opinion, I don't think it's going to be a submission. I think Said is going to look flash. He's going to look amazing. And if he does get a submission, it's a tight guillotine off the rip. I think he should be able to win this fight after a hard-fought 15 minutes by unanimous decision. But I think a guy like Daniel Santos, if he has a guy like Charles Oliveira in his corner, it's going to up his aura by like 20,000 points. So we better hope that Charles Oliveira is not in his corner. Daniel Santos plays way too much jiu-jitsu game on his back. He needs the new jiu-jitsu era where you use it to get sweeps and use it to transition and take the back. Not where you're trying to throw arm bars and trying to throw triangle chokes. We need to see sweeps from Daniel Santos, and we need to see them get right back up if we're going to pick him. I'm going to go Said Nurmagomedov to win this fight by unanimous decision. And in my opinion, if you want, take double chance. Said by submission or on points, because we know that either or can happen, and we know a KO is not that likely, considering only 2.9% of the people are picking it, and considering a guy like Said Nurmagomedov is not known to have that KO power. I'm going to go Said Nurmagomedov to win this fight by 29-28 unanimous decision after losing the second round in a pretty competitive fight with the shoot-the-box fighter Daniel Santos. This is a good one, too. This whole card is stacked. Medabek Otobai versus Mateusz Rebecki. By the way, Said Nurmagomedov is a -245. Daniel Santos is a +186. So if you want to get him, get Said right now. He's parlayable. Medabek Otobai at a -290 versus Mateusz Rebecki at a +215. This is what I wrote. Wrestling is non-stop. Plenty of cardio. Pretty good striking, but his grappling is the best and can set a nice pace. He got a knockdown in his last fight, coming off the win over Elvis Brenner, where he had that wrestling. Wrestling was great, but he was getting swept, and he also gave up a takedown against Elvis Brenner. He's taking on another relentless grappler in Rebecki. Every single punch he throws is with intent, and he can be reckless, but he has solid cardio, but is sloppy. Lost the third round bad against Diego Ferreira because he gassed. Rebecki is good and reliable. Otobai is good, but he can get taken down. If Rebecki tightens up his striking, then he can have success with a takedown here, and Medabek Otobai has the better cardio by miles. I don't think Rebecki wins this fight. He's too wild, and you're not knocking out the Neanderthal. In my opinion, it's caveman versus Poland. And this is going to be a very crazy fight. Considering he lost brutally by Diego Ferreira because he gassed, I can't say he has the best cardio. We know Medabek Otobai can get taken down. He got taken down by Elvis Brenner. He did get sweeped and reversed by Elvis Brenner as well. Medabek Otobai has underrated power. He can definitely finish this fight inside the distance. Not only can he finish this fight inside the distance, but he's a very comfortable, solid pick in my opinion. Mateusz Rebecki, in my opinion, looks too old. He's too old in fight years. He's too old. And it sounds very casualistic for me to say that, but a guy like Medabek Otobai should be able to just absolutely run through a guy like Mateusz Rebecki. But we know with Medabek Otobai, since he's been in the UFC, submission, neck crank, and then right here he won against decision against Elvis Brenner. It was a very competitive fight, but I wouldn't be surprised if Medabek Otobai wins this fight by unanimous decision. Majority Tapology has this fight to go the distance. If you have a finish, KO is more likely than submission, but we know that this guy can KO you and submit you. I'm going to go Medabek Otobai to win this fight by unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28, and if not, a late third-round TKO. I don't think it's likely because Mateusz Rebecki's tough, but it's going to be a very good fight, and may the best man win. Give me Medabek Otobai to absolutely run through a guy like Mateusz Rebecki, and if he's not going to KO him in the third round, win by unanimous decision. We're still on the prelims. Jeff Neal versus RDA. Jeff Neal's a -320. RDA is a +235. Former lightweight champion. Both on 2-fight losing streaks. Former lightweight champion. Not meaningful for the division, but is still a good fight. So this fight has no implications for the welterweight division, but it's still a banger fight. Can't complain. Great matchmaking. Great matchmaking. Neal is a good striker. He's a good striker, solid volume, solid takedown defense, not the most technical, but with his power and aggression, he doesn't need to be. Neal likes to dictate the pace. He likes to own exchanges. If he can stay at kickboxing range, he has a lot of success. He's coming off of a split decision loss to Ian Gary, where the volume was the difference. He's taking on RDA, former lightweight champion of the world, incredibly well-rounded, but a grappler at heart. He's developed striking, clean striking, solid volume, and he tries to trick you to strike with him, and then immediately grapples. He's very good everywhere, has the fight IQ of someone who's 40 years old and has been fighting for 20 years. Recently, he just lost to Mateusz Gamrot, where he was taken down 11 times, but he managed to drop him. I'm going to pick Neal, but I'm low confidence. 34 years old versus a 40-year-old. Massive difference in size here. And it's not crazy if RDA squeaks out a grimy split decision. We know a guy like Jeff Neal has lost 5-round fights to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And I know this fight is not 5 rounds, it's 3 rounds. But that favors RDA. RDA can wrestle hard, and he could probably win this fight by unanimous decision. I'm giving RDA a little bit more lenient here. But a lot of people expect him to get knocked out. I don't think Jeff Neal is going to knock him out. He can. But in my opinion, I think a guy like Jeff Neal is a guy that you don't want to bet on. You do not want to. If you really feel confident, you can play him. But a guy like Jeff Neal is a guy like, you never know what you're going to get with Jeff Neal. Considering that he's lost 3 out of his last 5, especially to Neil Magny, that's embarrassing. That's fine. That was a long time ago. That was 3 years ago and 5 months. He won against Santiago Ponzinibbio by split decision. That's okay. And then he beat Vicente Luque, which was one of his best wins out of his last 5 fights. And then he lost to Shavkat Rakhmonov, fight of the night, performance of the night, fight of the night. Ian Machado Gary, he lost by decision split. Who has faced the toughest competition and the most elite competition? Both of them. Who has been more competitive with the toughest competition and the most adverse competition? Jeff Neal. You can maybe say it's because he's 34 years old, but I think prime RDA would absolutely run through Jeff Neal. But unfortunately, he's no longer in his prime, and he's 40 years old. I'm going to be taking Jeff Neal to win this fight. Very low confidence pick. But I'm going to go Jeff Neal to win this fight, and I'm going to go to win this fight by unanimous decision, specifically 29-28 after getting grappled the first round, but having great takedown defense in the second and third. It's going to be a very close fight, and in my opinion, if you like a dog, why not go RDA? The dogs could be barking this entire card. They were barking the last one. Shara Magomedov versus Armen Petrosyan. Shara Magomedov is a -245. Armen Petrosyan is a +148. Main card opens with a sketchy fight. Shara versus Armen Petrosyan. 2 kickboxers who have had a lot of success before they came into MMA. And Shara is a great striker. He popped onto the scene last year. 14 fights, 11 knockouts. But the KOs haven't come easy at the UFC level. 2 of his 3 UFC wins were by decision. His takedown defense is okay. And his offensive takedown defense are non-existent. So his offensive takedowns are non-existent. He's coming off of a letdown decision against Michael Olajaychik, who he was supposed to finish. He's not who they tell us he is, and honestly, he's going to get the fight that he wants. He's going to get the fight that he wants here, and he wants to strike 15 minutes with Petrosyan. A fun striker, pro kickboxer, brawler at times, tough chin, lands almost 6 significant strikes per minute, is hit with fewer than 3. But he doesn't care. He'll stay in the pocket. Not the best takedown defense, coming off of stub losses to Rodolfo Vieira, where he was taken down and put to sleep. Shara is a hard guy to break down because he's a good striker, but lacks the finishing ability. No insane KOs yet, but he's undefeated. One day, Shara will lose because he won't go for it. Bias aside, just skills, Shara is a demon. He's on demon time, and he's going to whoop this guy's ass. So in my opinion, I think Shara's going to lose eventually. And the reason why I think he's going to lose eventually is because this guy doesn't have the best urgency to finish. We've seen him go to decision twice already in the UFC, where he should be able to finish these guys. Michael Olajaychik was finished by Kevin Holland, and Michael Olajaychik was finished by Michel Pereira. Why isn't a guy like Shara Magomedov able to finish a guy like Michael Olajaychik? He lacks the urgency to finish. That's something that's very important when you're fighting a guy like Armen Petrosyan. When you're fighting a guy like Armen Petrosyan, who is a professional kickboxer, who comes from a kickboxing background, you do not want to go to a close decision with a guy like Armen Petrosyan. He could definitely eke out a split decision. In my opinion, I think Shara Magomedov is going to whoop his ass completely, and he's going to win this fight by unanimous decision. A lot of people think that Magomedov could get the KO, but this is not Magomedov that we think it is. This is not the mystic fighter that we think he is. And plus, he has one eye. I don't want to take that away from him. But he only has one eye, so maybe that has to do with him not getting any finishes. He looks like he's going to win this fight by decision, and I think he's going to win this fight by decision. Considering 2 out of his last 3 UFC fights have went to decision, he's probably going to win this fight by decision as well. Considering Armen Petrosyan is very tough to finish unless you want to submit him like Rodolfo Vieira, who did 8 months ago. I'm going to go Magomedov to win this fight by unanimous decision, 29-28, after losing the 3rd round. Let's go. Main card time. Well, I mean, we already opened up the main card. Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakić. Alexander Rakić is a plus 300. Magomed Ankalaev is a minus 430. I saw people saying that Khamzat and Rakić are training, but then some other guy said Khamzat would never train with Rakić. He trains with Magomed Ankalaev. And I was like, I don't know. Is that true? Like, I don't know. But Ankalaev is the least liked person on this card. Looks like a villain. A lot of people ride this guy and sip hard for this guy, saying he deserves a title shot. He's a good kickboxer, uses range, devastating kicks, power in his hands, and I don't like this guy. He's very versatile, but can be low volume. If he gets in trouble in the striking department, he does have good wrestling. Backup plan, averages around 1 takedown per 15 minutes, has 1 pro loss on his MMA record in the UFC on his UFC debut to Paul Craig. Last second submission. He's coming off of a spectacular win over Johnny Walker. He's taking on Alexander Rakić. Alexander Rakić is a dynamic striker, uses length, reach to out-technique, to out-decision people, mixes in his kicks well. He mixes in his kicks well, no issue transitioning from leg kicks to head kicks while moving forward. And while he does have the power, he likes to fight on the outside. Doesn't look for a brawl. He is a low-volume technical striker who uses footwork and distance to control. He's coming off of a KO loss to Yuri Prochazka at UFC 300. Ankalaev had a title shot and he absolutely blew it. Easiest title shot in the world against Jan Blachowicz, old man. He got his legs chewed up and 8 of his takedowns were stuffed. He didn't beat Jan, so now here we are, and he's fighting Rakić, a guy coming off of 2 losses who hasn't won a fight since 2021. Magomed should be able to run through this guy. In my opinion, if Alexander Rakić wants to win this fight, he needs to start off with the leg kicks hard. He needs to leg kick this guy hard. Hard as fuck. I'm talking about off the gate. And I'm talking about not no telegraphed leg kicks. I'm talking about 1-2 head kick, 1-2 leg kick off the break. Every time this guy's trying to initiate striking with you, just leg kick him. He's going to try to shoot off the rip and he's going to try to take your back against the cage. If a guy like Magomed Ankalaev loses, I will be the happiest guy in the world. We know a lot of people have high expectations for Magomed Ankalaev and expect him to get the title shot. But we'll see how he does. It's sad to say this, but even if he wins here, he might not even get a title shot. He's a prospect, a future title contender, and he might be a future champion in the UFC. In my opinion, I think a guy like Alexander Rakić doesn't nowhere near deserve a fight like this, but he stepped up and he's getting it. UFC 308 is stacked with a bunch of big favorites who are likely to win this fight. We know, though, we've had a lot of upsets lately, and a guy with 78-inch reach who's 6'4", who's the longer fighter. Have you seen this guy's back when he's working out? This guy is big. We know that this guy is more of a guy who's a technician, and he doesn't have that power. So it's not likely for him to just knock out Magomed Ankalaev. But if we have a close competitive fight, and this goes to split decision, don't be surprised if Rakić takes it. He can definitely win a split decision. He was winning against Yuri Prochazka until Yuri Prochazka just said, fuck it. It's my time to win now. And he broke him. Yuri Prochazka absolutely broke Rakić. We know a guy like Magomed Ankalaev is not a guy who's going to volume and overwhelm you with all that striking. If you want to beat Magomed Ankalaev, you got to follow the game plan of Jan Blachowicz. You got to start leg kicking off the rip, off the rip, off the rip, off the rip, leg kick, leg kick, leg kick, and get off the fence. You have to use the fence as electricity and do not touch that fence at all. I'm going to be going Magomed Ankalaev to win this fight by unanimous decision. And unfortunately, I think he wins this fight by unanimous decision. If he wants a title shot, though, you got to finish Rakić. If you want a title shot, you got to finish Rakić. In my opinion, if there's going to be a finishing upside, it's going to be Magomed by submission. We know Magomed can KO you too. He has very good knockouts. He just KO'd Anthony Smith and he KO'd Johnny Walker, considering he had a no contest of an accidental illegal knee. Magomed Ankalaev is kind of inactive as well. We know Alexander Rakić just fought 6 months ago. We don't know how he's going to look after coming off the KO loss. He might look better than we ever seen him before. A lot of people are going to be doubting him. But in my opinion, a guy that has a very good chance is a guy like Rakić. I'm going to go Magomed Ankalaev to win this fight by unanimous decision after a hard-fought, close, competitive round. I think if Rakic's going to win, he's going to win 1 round. I think he's definitely going to win 1 round, and that's probably going to be the first round. He's probably going to start off really good. He starts off really good. He won the first round against Yuri Prochazka. And I think if you want to take the plus 3.5, take the plus 3.5 for Alexander Rakić. I think it's definitely likely. But I'm going to go Magomed Ankalaev to win that fight by 29-28 unanimous decision after losing the first round. Main card time, baby. Lerone Murphy versus Dan Ige, Lerone Murphy's a minus 215. Dan Ige's a plus 164. Sorry, bro. My fucking balls itch. People been saying this fight was off. Gene Silva stepping in. That guy that was tweeting fake news, there's a special place in hell for you, my bro. Weirdo. He's an absolute weirdo who's tweeting off that fake news. And I know that guy's probably trolling. There's no value in doing that, though. And he's not even going to delete it. Like, your tweet is still up, my boy. Your tweet is still up, buddy. Why is it still up? I don't know. Murphy, great striker. Lights up your body, then steps out of the pocket and then moves out the way. His footwork is good. Takedown defense is good. Is low at a 46%, but his get-up game goes crazy. Great scrambles, doesn't accept the bottom. He's coming off of a dominant main event win over Edson Barbosa. He's taking on Daniel Ige. Fantastic kickboxer, good speed, good power, solid BJJ, underrated wrestling. His takedown defense might look low at 58%, but he has fought only killers. He defended 10 takedowns of Bryce Mitchell's takedown attempts, and he has fought some of the best people on planet Earth. Coming off of that insanely short notice loss to Diego Lopez, where he stole the third round. Dan Ige is the real BMF. We have to thank Dan Ige for everything that he's done for the UFC. So thank you, Dan Ige, for everything that you've done for the UFC, and thank you for being a BMF, bro. You are that guy, and you never pull out of a fight, and you're always that guy to show up, and you're always that guy to fight. And that's what we love about you, bro. You saved UFC 303 against Diego Lopez, and you put up a phenomenal performance. So thank you for all that you do. Lerone Murphy is very good. He's going to try to be more of a technician. He should be more technical than Dan Ige. But Lerone Murphy should win. Sometimes he's more defensively sound. I don't think he'll get taken down and lose. Lerone striking and mixing with the wrestling will likely have Ige guessing. The over 2.5 is solid. So, shout out to Pick'em MMA. He said, bro, let's go. He said, let's do the over 2.5. Let's do this fight goes the distance. I think this fight definitely goes the distance. Dan Ige is very tough. Lerone Murphy is very tough. And we know Dan Ige doesn't get finished. If he's going to lose by unanimous decision. And that's very impressive considering he's fighting an undefeated prospect in Lerone Murphy, the Miracle, who just came off of a dominant 50-45 performance over Edson Barbosa. Majority Tapology has that this fight goes the distance. If there's going to be a knockout side, you can go Dan Ige by KO. But in my opinion, I'm going to be taking Lerone Murphy to win this fight by 30-27, 29-28, maybe after losing the third round. We know a guy like Dan Ige starts off that third round hard. He starts off that third round hard. Not only does he start off that third round hard, this guy has cardio for days. We know a guy like Lerone Murphy was able to hit a nice little teep front kick to the body against Josh Kulabau and hurt his body very good. Lerone Murphy has been very active. He's been somewhat active, in my opinion. He's all the way from England, though, so we know... I don't know if that flight is going to be okay. He should be in Abu Dhabi already, but I'm going to go Lerone Murphy to win this fight by 30-27, 29-28, and 29-28 on all judges' scorecards. Should be a good fight, but a guy like Dan Ige is definitely probably going to win the third round. If you want to take the plus 3.5 for Dan Ige, you should definitely take it. I definitely think Dan Ige wins a round, if not two. I'm going to go Lerone Murphy to win this fight by unanimous decision, 29-28 after losing the third round. Let's go. There could be a lot of decisions on this card, to be honest. Co-main event, Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat the Scammer Chimaev. All jokes aside, this guy's an absolute beast. Robert Whittaker is a plus 164. Khamzat Chimaev is a minus 215. This fight was supposed to happen at Saudi Arabia 2 months ago. Khamzat pulls out, got some mysterious disease. That fight was off. Rob smokes Ikram Alaskarov on short notice in the very first round. Absolutely demolishes Ikram Alaskarov. Whittaker is that guy who always accepts the toughest fights. Former middleweight champion. Diverse striker. Solid volume. Good takedowns. Constantly mixing up the striking and moving patterns. He lays out really heavy leg kicks and immediately charges forward. And chased ahead. His only loss. So he charges very good leg kicks and then he sets it up with a good 1-2 high kick. I lost my train of thought, sorry. He has very good moving patterns. He lays out kicks immediately, very good kicks, charges forward. His last 10 years, his only loss His only losses in the last 10 years are to Izzy and the current champ Dricus du Plessis. That's how good Robert Whittaker is. 12 takedowns in his last 7 fights to cement himself as a well-rounded guy. One of the best middleweights on planet Earth. He's coming off of the first-round knockout win over a short-notice Ikram Aliskerov. He's taking on Khamzat Chimaev, the Chechenian chicken, the polarizing guy that people are talking about as if he's not human. You hear about the work ethic, you hear about the dominant wrestler, you hear about his ability to destroy everyone in his path, and we've seen the wrestling and we've seen the one-punch KO power from this guy. We've seen him struggle with random health issues and cardio. Khamzat can take down anyone he wants. He's impossible to take down, but he has no cardio. He's willing to strike, but no, he's not that technical. Coming off of a decision win over Kamaru Usman a year ago where he dominated early, then completely gassed completely in the 3rd round. This is a 5-round fight. This is not a 3-round fight. Robert Whittaker is the most liked fighter in UFC history. Robert Whittaker is a demon. We saw Dricus take him down and maul Robert Whittaker. Dominant win over Whittaker. Whittaker looked terrible in that Dricus du Plessis fight. No ifs and buts about it. Usman has 2 more rounds. If he has 2 more rounds with Khamzat Chimaev, I think he beats Khamzat Chimaev. It's possible Whittaker survives early and takes on late. Khamzat's pressure might be too much early. Rob can be finished. Paulo Costa almost knocked him out in the 1st round. Khamzat Chimaev's takedowns and control are absolutely insane. What he did to Usman was wild. Although he faded, it was absolutely insane, but still impressive. Usman is a Division 1 All-American wrestler. Rob is not a Division 1 All-American wrestler, but he hasn't fought anybody like Khamzat Chimaev. Robert Whittaker is not the best wrestler, but he has good wrestling. He's not a Division 1 All-American wrestler like Kamaru Usman, but he's a good wrestler. Maybe that's worse for him. Honestly, in the wrestling department, dude, Khamzat Chimaev could be absolutely levels above Robert Whittaker. He could completely destroy Robert Whittaker in the 1st and 2nd round. He could completely take him down and submit him in the 1st or 2nd round, and we don't even have to look at his cardio. His cardio might not even come to fruition. We might not even have to question his cardio if this guy finishes Robert Whittaker in the 1st or 2nd round. We have to look at Whittaker's takedown defense. His ground game is very good. His get-up game is very good. And Dricus in round 1 took him down very easily. How does this fight go now that it's 5 rounds? Do you want to lay a 2-1 on a guy who's a pull-out king? Although he does show up to his fights, he's undefeated. So, although you're playing with fire here, Whittaker has an 83% takedown defense. This guy spends almost all of his time fighting at striking distance, striking range. This guy Whittaker bounces off his toes, uses the canvas as if it's a trampoline, bounces in and out, has phenomenal control, has phenomenal distance control, great in and out movement, very good double leg takedowns, and very good get up game. We have seen Whittaker have good wrestling takedown defense against Yoel Romero. Is Yoel Romero a guy like Khamzat Chimaev? No. We've never seen a guy like Khamzat Chimaev even come close, or any opponent come close to the wrestling capability of Khamzat Chimaev against Robert Whittaker. It's like flipping a coin with this fight. If you want to go Khamzat Chimaev inside the distance, Khamzat Chimaev early, that's not that bad to take. In my opinion, I think this fight goes the distance. I know this is going to be crazy. I know people think that this fight's probably going to end inside the distance. It could happen. But damn, bro, if I think this fight's going to end inside the distance, it's going to be late. It's going to be 4 or 5. I think if Khamzat Chimaev is going to get a finish, it could be round 2 or 3. With all that being said, my last minute predictions are on Friday. I'm going Robert Whittaker. I know a lot of people are going to go Khamzat Chimaev. We haven't seen much on Khamzat Chimaev. This is the first real test on Khamzat Chimaev. And we know Khamzat Chimaev had very good, phenomenal performances against Kamaru Usman, against Gilbert Burns, against Kelvin Holland, against Jingling Lang, the Leech, against Gerald Meerschaert, first round KO. But a guy like Robert Whittaker has faced the top competition. I think Robert Whittaker was prepared the first time. I picked him the first time to win. He beat Ikram Aliskerov. I picked him to beat Ikram Aliskerov. And I think he was ready for Ikram Aliskerov. I think he was ready for Khamzat Chimaev. He was ready for any middleweight that was willing to accept that fight. And I think that's what makes you the best fighter in the world. I think a guy like Khamzat Chimaev is going to look terrible if he makes out the third round. I hope a guy like Robert Whittaker doesn't get finished in the first and second. We know Robert Whittaker can be a little chinny, and he got dropped by Dricus du Plessis. If Khamzat Chimaev connects clean, right on Robert Whittaker's chin, Robert Whittaker's going to go down. He's going to get dropped. He might even get into a club and sub. If you want to go Khamzat Chimaev, don't be afraid to go inside the distance. Khamzat Chimaev by sub, Khamzat Chimaev by KO. It's not a bad thing to sprinkle. This is a very close competitive fight, and this fight could be over before you know it. But in my opinion, I think this fight's going to touch the third round, and I think if this fight touches the third round, it's going to be in favor for Whittaker. I'm going to go Robert Whittaker to win this fight by unanimous decision, 48-47 split, 48-47 Khamzat, and 48-47 Robert Whittaker. It's going to be a tough fight. Out of all the tape study that I've done, this was probably one of the hardest tape study that I've done to do for this fight. Considering Khamzat Chimaev has very close fights, he KO'd Ikram Aliskerov as well. So, we can say that both of these guys own Ikram Aliskerov. But we know that if somebody gets finished in this fight, they're going to get finished brutally. I'm going to go Robert Whittaker to win this fight by split decision, if not by fourth round KO, like I said last week. But with all that being said, guys, pay attention to my last-minute predictions on Friday because we will have some official pick flips. I don't think this will be an official pick flip, but I'm going to go Robert Whittaker to win this fight by 48-47 split decision, if not fourth round KO. Tough fight, though. Tough fight. Khamzat is a demon. He's an absolute demon. That guy's always fun to watch, too. Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria. Damn, bro. We're here already? We're here already? Here we go. Ilia Topuria minus 245, Max Holloway plus 186. Everyone is hyped for this fight. We all want Max to win, especially with the heel that Ilia turned into. But he has to sell the fight. It's better than saying, "Oh, we'll see October 26th. We'll see October 26th over and over again." At least Ilia is trying to sell the fight. Ilia is good, incredibly well-rounded. You're going to look at his record and you're going to see how many KOs he has, and you're going to assume he's a striker, but he's not. He didn't originate from there. He's a Jordanian wrestler who averages more than 2 takedowns per fight. What makes him very impressive is he doesn't have a set game plan. You don't know what he's going to do or how he will fight. He shows up with all of his tools in his bag and he starts striking. Depending on where the striking goes, he transitions to wrestling. He's coming off of that heartbreaking KO win over Alex Volkanovski in round 2 KO. He's taking on longtime former champ, one of our favorite fighters, the current BMF champ of the world, Max Holloway. The best is blessed, baby. Max is an amazing striker, fluid movement, keeps his volume and pressure up, has significant striker record of all time, significant strikes. He's a significant strike king, most landed in a fight, most landed in all of his career. He rounds out all of that with his 84% takedown defense, an entire championship career worth of experience. He has stapled himself at 145. His only loss at 145 in the last 10 years was to Alex Volkanovski. We know he also lost to McGregor, but that was early in his career. Alex Volkanovski is no shame to lose to. Max Holloway is the current BMF champ, where he went up in weight and KO'd Gaethje. Welcome to the main event, baby. We all like Max, but Ilia is a technician, and we know after he closes the distance, he unloads with speed, insane power, insane wrestling, entries. We only seen him look human once against Jai Herbert when he got dropped, and then Ilia recovered and won that same fight by KO. Ilia has to be the pick. He has to be the pick for some people. Too fast, too diverse for Max, but we need Max to survive till round 3. With a snowball effect, rounds 3, 4, and 5. Ilia Topuria is the next generation and could be champ for a very long time. That's what I wrote. One thing we have to mention with this fight, Ilia Topuria has a 69-inch reach, Max Holloway has a 69-inch reach. Max Holloway, I was watching Tom Aspinall break down Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria, and he mentioned something very good. He mentioned how Max Holloway is not 5'11". He's listed at 5'11", but he's 6'1". He's taller than Daniel Cormier, and he's taller than Dustin Poirier, and he's taller than a lot of guys that are listed as 5'11". Max Holloway is a good 6'1". He's not 5'11", in my opinion. I think he's going to look a lot bigger than Ilia Topuria, but we know a guy like Ilia Topuria is very stocky, and who has more power in their hands? Ilia Topuria. Who has that knockout power? Ilia Topuria. Who's most likely going to finish this fight inside the distance? Ilia Topuria. in my opinion, I think the best play, the best prop. You guys are gonna like my bonus. I'm about to spoil it right now. Over 2.5, baby. Over 2.5 should be a very good play for this fight. I took it in the Michel Pereira versus Anthony Hernandez fight. Although I didn't say it in my 6 best bets, which gets me frustrated, but that's not the point. The point is, for this fight, the over 2.5 should be one of the best outcomes. Not only should it be one of the best outcomes, the possibility of a finish early is going to favor Ilia Topuria. I think if anybody's going to get finished early in this fight, it's Ilia Topuria if he takes him down, grapples him, and submits him. We know Ilia Topuria has won his first 8 fights by submission. If you look at his pro MMA record, and we go all the way down, he's won round 1, triangle choke, rear naked choke, guillotine choke, mounted guillotine choke, anaconda choke, triangle arm bar. And that was an impressive first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 8 fights that ended in submission. 7 fights. Amazing, amazing record to start off. And then he started to find his hands, he started to get more comfortable with his hands. And he started to fall in love with his hands. You don't want to fall in love with your hands with a guy like Max Holloway, bro. You do not want to fall in love with your hands with a guy like Max Holloway, bro. You want to point down to the middle? Max Holloway's not going to fall for it, bro. We do that at the end of the round. The best is blessed, baby. I'm going to give you guys my best analysis for this entire fight. Max Holloway's going to start off in the first round. He's going to get pieced up. He's going to try to start off with that jab. He's going to start off with that. He's going to start off with that good movement. He's going to start off with that amazing footwork. We need that spinning kick to the body. I don't think Ilia Topuria can defend that very well. And I know it's a spinning kick to the body. It can maybe leave you open to Ilia taking your back. But I think his spinning kick to the body is one of Max Holloway's best weapons in his arsenal. Not only is his best weapon in his arsenal, he was able to break Justin Gaethje's nose with that spinning kick to the body. I think if he can land that spinning kick to the body, he could definitely land it on Ilia Topuria's face. I know that's not the smartest thing because what are you doing throwing a spinning kick to the face in a most competitive fight at UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi? But I think kicks are going to be a very important factor in this fight. Ilia Topuria is going to hammer his leg kicks. He's going to hammer his leg kicks. He's going to try to go like this. He's going to go, it's my turn. We know Alexander Volkanovski was able to win the first round against Ilia Topuria. How? With volume, pressure, and output. Although he was getting enclosed and Ilia Topuria was loading data and he eventually finished Volkanovski, Volkanovski was able to win that fight. Win that first round by more volume and output. He was able to land that jab. He was able to bust up Ilia's nose really good, and he was able to make it cut open, and he was able to make it bleed. One thing about Ilia Topuria is he was struggling against Volkanovski in that first round pretty bad. If you look at the live odds for that fight, they were almost dead even in that second round. One thing about this fight, you do not want to struggle in the striking department against Max Holloway. I think Ilia Topuria is going to grapple hard. I think he's going to grapple hard the first and second round. I think he's going to struggle to strike with Max Holloway, and I think he's going to grapple insanely hard in the first and second round, if not the second and third. I think Max Holloway should be able to touch the third round. Excuse me. If he's able to touch the third round, that's when that snowball effect happens. Even in the first round, do not let Max Holloway get his momentum. If you let Max Holloway gain his momentum, he's never going to stop. We saw against Calvin Kattar, he pieced this guy up, had amazing cardio. If this goes to days and we make one guy quit, we push both of these guys. We push both of these guys. We have a chainsaw behind both of these guys. And they're both running for their life, and they both have to go through obstacles, and they both have to jump over stuff, and they both have to duck, and they both have to run, and they both have to hide. They have to spin. They have to throw punches. They have to fight people in their way, and there's a big chainsaw behind them, and the first guy who gets tired, who wants to quit, loses. That's Ilia Topuria, baby. Trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. I know this is going to sound crazy, but a guy like Max Holloway, when he's in his mode, when he's in that momentum, when that snowball effect is rolling, you do not want to be in rounds 3, 4, and 5. I don't think Ilia Topuria is going to win round 5, and I definitely don't think he's going to win round 4. If he's going to be in this fight, he has to finish Max Holloway. If you don't finish Max Holloway, bro, you are going to be put for a rough night. We know who was the only guy to have success in a 5-round fight against Max Holloway? Volkanovski. He had success in a 5-round fight 3 times, but we know the most competitive fight was the second time where Max Holloway had no sparring, no physical contact for that fight, and Max Holloway looked like an absolute demon. And you could argue maybe he won rounds 1, 2, and 3. One thing we have to say, though, he caught Volkanovski early with that 1-2 head kick. I can definitely see that catching Ilia Topuria. Jai Herbert was able to catch him with that, but we know Ilia Topuria is going to be more defensively sound, and he's going to be looking for that boxing. He's going to be looking to piece up Max Holloway's body. I'm going to be taking Max Holloway to win this fight, but I think Max Holloway needs to, 1, treat that fence like electricity. Keep your fence, keep your back off the cage like if your life depends on it. 2, avoid the body shots, because with the body shots, he's able to headhunt. And 3, keep that jab going, baby. Hit this motherfucker with the jab. He's a midget. Hit this motherfucker with the jab and keep on hitting this motherfucker with the jab. Bust up his nose. His nose was leaking earlier in the Volkanovski fight. If Volkanovski could do it, you could do it too, Max Holloway. And you discredit him. One thing about Ilia Topuria is he's never going to quit. He's never going to quit. He's going to keep on going. He's going to keep on going. I'm going to be going Max Holloway to win this fight by 48-47, unanimous decision. Split, 48-47, Ilia Topuria, and 48-47, Max Holloway. I think this is going to be a very close fight, and I think if anybody's going to get a finish, it's Ilia Topuria, but I'm going to go Max Holloway to win this fight by 48-47, unanimous decision, after losing the first and second round, and then winning the third, fourth, and fifth. I think Ilia Topuria is going to need to grapple. You're going to want to grapple with a guy like Max Holloway, bro, because trust me, bro, if you don't grapple with a guy like Max Holloway is going to piece you up, and he has too much cardio. You better hurt Max Holloway. You better drop Max Holloway. Tom Aspinall said that he expects Ilia Topuria to drop Max Holloway. You better drop Max Holloway, because if you don't stop that momentum early, he's going to be there rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at the Justin Gaethje fight. 26 strikes in the first round, 21 strikes in the second round, 30 strikes in the third round, 29 strikes in the fourth round, another 30 significant strikes in the fifth round. This guy has the record for the most significant strikes in all of UFC, and you're going to tell me that a guy like Ilia Topuria is going to be able to outstrike him in the third, fourth, and fifth round. No, baby. Let me know what you guys think, guys. It's going to be a fun fight, guys. All jokes aside, may the best man win. It's going to be a very competitive fight, and I think this fight goes the distance. The over 2.5 is probably going to be one of my bonus props, so pay attention to the 6 best bets for UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi. I'm going to have my lock of the week, and let me know if you guys have a good lock of the week, because I need your guys' help. You know, I always ask you guys for help, so stay tuned for content. I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. It was probably one of my longest videos ever, so let's get it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Let's get it, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it. The best is blessed, baby. Peace. And by the way, you can look at my UFC 300 videos, the science of Justin Gaethje, UFC 300 full card predictions. Dude, I've been on Max Holloway since the day he was born, baby. The best is blessed, baby. The best is blessed. Fuck him up. Let's go. Max Holloway for the win. Let's get it.